So the first thing we had Casey do was, it's called a 99 hip lift. It's all over the internet, it's great. I think there are a couple of things that we and our population need to work on a little bit more with it. We talk a lot about breathing, we talk a lot about the diaphragm, but we don't really appreciate the rib mobility. Ribs tell me essentially what your diaphragm is doing. So if we're trying to work on some of that while correcting pelvis position, I'm gonna get really picky about his ribs. So the first part of this exercise that a lot of us have seen is if I have Casey, I'm gonna put this between your knees. So one of the problems that Casey had was he was in this anterior tilt. When that happens, certain muscles get, you could think about it being turned on all the time. When that happens, their opposite muscles get shut off. So the first thing I gotta do is get his low back to shut off a little bit. That's the big purpose of this exercise. So I'm gonna have Casey take a deep breath in through his nose and breathe out through his mouth. And he's gonna roll his tailbone up very gently by pulling down with his heels. It's important to note that with this, his abs aren't working. He's staying pretty relaxed through his midsection. So his back is flat, but really what's doing the work are his hamstrings. Feel that guy right there? Especially this left medial hamstring, you should be able to poke it and kind of feel that tendon popping out. Once he's in this position, he's just gonna focus on getting his low back to shut off. One good way to do that is with the breathing. Put your hand on your ribs here. If you think about it, if we're super arched, our ribs tend to pop up. If we wanna get this to come down, one of the best things we can do is actually let the ribs come down. So when he's breathing, he's gonna breathe in nice and relaxed through his nose. And as he breathes out through his mouth, full but not forced exhale, I want him to really focus on the ribs coming down. That's gonna tell me he's actually using his diaphragm. Our diaphragm essentially is attached to our ribs. If we can't move our ribs, we're probably not using our diaphragm the way it needs to be used. So he's gonna hold this position, feeling his left hamstrings engaged, his low back relaxed for 5 deep breaths. In through his nose, and out through his mouth. Now in a general population that's not quite so muscular, it's really easy to find this position, relatively speaking. For us as lifters, because we do get so dominant in certain muscles and they get really tight, Casey had to kind of figure out how to modify this on his own via distance, since we didn't get to work together in person that much.
Yeah, so we had originally started with my everything at parallel, so 90 and 90. It was easier for me once I got that box a little bit higher to get my hamstrings engaged, to shut my low back off. So part of the issue too, I worked on, I would actually try to pull that box toward me just a little bit, because that activated the hamstrings. Then I could push down and get everything else to shut off. If I just went to push down, my low back would tense up. Part of the other thing too, obviously with the foam roller, what you want to do is squeeze. So you're going to get that.
Real hard.
Right. And you want to get that left adductor working just enough to kind of stabilize. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah. So it was just practice a lot of patience. It was really it was frustrating. It took a month to just get everything to work, just to get this position to work properly. So.
Because you did a great job just now getting that pelvic tilt and getting this to shut off with the cues you used instead of the ones I gave you. Can you do that again?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, when I originally started, Danny said, well, just drive your heels down. So I would do that and immediately everything would tense up. So what I would do was pull that box toward me just a hair, so I feel it in my hamstrings. Now I can push down just a little bit.
Watch what happens here. I don't know if y'all can see that on the camera, but that's about as relaxed as I've seen Casey's back in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was like it was uncomfortable. So again, I'm gonna pull it in, push down, hold that position for just a second. Make sure you are relaxed. If you're not, go ahead and reset. But from there, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Keep everything shut off. Keep the hamstrings turned on. This was also where we tried the balloon, and I literally could not fill the balloon up. I'm not a smoker or anything, so I don't know if I have any lung problems, but no, it made me realize that I don't know how to breathe.
But what Casey said a minute ago about how difficult this is, appreciate that. If this is super easy for you and you lift the way that we do, you're not being picky enough. I'm gonna put that out there, and I'll very seldom say something that firm, but it should be tough. It should feel like you're not doing enough and like it's hard to get things to just shut off.